Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is calling for an end to the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh. Armenia and Azerbaijan have been embroiled in a clash in the region. Turkey has also gotten involved by supplying arms to Azerbaijan. Canada suspended arms sales to Turkey as a result. Trudeau spoke about the situation earlier today, calling for de-escalation.
I was very pleased to speak with Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan of Armenia this morning. I am scheduled to speak with President Erdogan of Turkey a little later today, in which we will certainly be discussing the export permits that Canada has suspended because of concerns that they have been used by Azerbaijan in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. I will express how important it is for Canada and for our allies around the world that there be a de-escalation of the violence in the region, and impress upon Turkey how important it is to encourage people to get back to the table and not continue to participate in the violent conflict ongoing right now.
The latest flare-up began late last month, but it's unclear why it began, with both sides accusing each other of firing first. Last week, Russia brokered a ceasefire deal. It has close historic ties to both former Soviet states, but Armenian and Azeri forces fought new clashes today, breaking that ceasefire. Over 600 people have died since the fighting began. The region lies within Azerbaijan, but it has been under the control of ethnic Armenian forces since a war there ended in 1994. But other countries have also gotten involved, and that has some observers concerned. Turkey has increased its military exports to Azerbaijan, while Russia has a defense pact with Armenia. Last hour, I spoke with Michael Bociurkiw in Sydney, BC, about the global implications of this conflict. He's a global affairs analyst. He's also a former spokesman for the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. I began by asking him how this violence erupted.
It really started to flare up a bit midsummer and then really escalated near the end of September. It's because it's such a remote area and access is very restricted. It's very difficult to determine who fired the first shot, but that really isn't the point here. The point is that both sides are firing at each other, and the number of people displaced, almost half of the population of the 15,000 ethnic Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh. That's a lot of people. Also the degree of the violence, the technology being used, unmanned drones, reportedly fighter jets, and as we've learned recently, possibly even paid mercenaries from Syria brought in by Turkey. It's a very, very complex, and as you pointed out, a lot of outside parties looking in, getting involved.
Where do these hostilities begin?
Oh, a long, long time ago, at least 30 years ago. I just spoke to the president of the International Committee of the Red Cross, and he told me that the big problem here is that it's a very deep-seated conflict. The Azerbaijanis will tell you that Nagorno-Karabakh is theirs and that it is occupied, and they need to leave. But Peter Maurer, the ICRC, said something very interesting. He said, when you have these long simmering issues, like, for example, hundreds of people unaccounted for, missing persons, loved ones not getting the remains of their relatives back, prisoners on both sides, that means it could flare up at any time.
Yeah. Russia has brokered a ceasefire. What's in it for them?
Well, look, Russia, we all know President Putin is not very happy about the Soviet empire, if you will, crumbling, and he wants it back. And we've seen this through his actions, not only in eastern Ukraine, where, by the way, almost 14,000 have died, but also his involvement here. It was interesting. They did broker, after 10 hours of talks, a so-called ceasefire, humanitarian ceasefire in Moscow. It hardly lasted whatsoever. But that didn't surprise me because most deals brokered by Russia don't last very long, again, referencing what's happening in eastern Ukraine.
Yeah. What about Erdogan?
Well, Erdogan, very interesting, tough guy, not very well liked home, an autocrat, and he's really looking to position Turkey as a regional superpower. I know from my time in that region that Turkey was previously really exercising soft power. If there was a disaster anywhere, they would mobilize tons of cargo and hundreds of people to go help and create a good name for themselves. But now they're acting more like a military power. And very interesting, that's really changed the kind of calibration of this conflict, is the use of very high-tech Turkish drones given to Azerbaijan that have inflicted a lot of pain and a lot of damage, and hence that is why Canada cut off exports of drone technology to Turkey.
Is this turning into a proxy war? Has it always been a proxy war?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the people on the ground, of course, like anywhere, all they're looking for is peace. But what's happening is you have these superpowers, Russia, Turkey, you have Iran also involved, Israel apparently supplying some drones as well, looking in. And then you have the OSCE, the France, United States, and Russia co-chairing a body that over the decades have had so many meetings but haven't been able to bring peace to the region. But one more thing, Carole, is energy. There's a lot of gas, oil. There's a lot of gas and oil. Azerbaijan is about to export gas to the EU, and those transit lines, those pipelines pass by Nagorno-Karabakh in very close proximity. So a lot of worry due to the markets.
Yeah, whenever you find oil and gas, you find this kind of conflict.
Absolutely.
Not far away. What do you think the next steps will be?
Well, look, I'm glad Prime Minister Trudeau did what he did today. The words he said were good. He spoke to the Armenians. He's going to speak to the Turks. He needs to speak to the Azerbaijanis. A big problem Canada has is, like we saw, Carole, remember when PS 752 came down over Tehran, there's no Canadian representation there on the ground. Same thing here. We handle our relations with the two countries, the two participants, if you will, out of Moscow and Ankara. So I think what needs to happen next is the international community needs to really take this seriously and, you know, perhaps do what they did when peace was negotiated in Colombia with the FARC, a process that took something like 5 or 6 years. And what happened there, you had very many kind of neutral countries. Norway, for example, you had a high-level peace envoy. You had people of the stature of Kofi Annan getting involved. It was a lot of hard work, but I think the same needs to be done here, given the length of the conflict, given the depths of the animosity, and given the potential for this to really spiral into a broader regional conflict.
How broad do you think it could go?
Very broad. I mean, I would hate to see the day, Carole, where a NATO member, Turkey, which, by the way, has purchased Russian jets and has F-16s, goes into an armed conflict with Russia. I mean, they're facing off each other already on different sides of the conflict in Syria and in Libya. But those tensions are growing quite a bit. And when you have two autocrats who are quite power hungry, I would say, looking for more sway over that region, rich in mineral resources and gas and oil, the potential is very, very big for something to go wrong quickly. And don't forget also the humanitarian aspect of tens or possibly hundreds of thousands of people needing to leave the area.
Michael Bociurkiw is a global affairs analyst and a former spokesman for the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Michael, thank you.
My pleasure.